everybody, today I'm physically in Carmel, but I can see Westfield just across the street. I am really close to the intersection of 146th Street and US 31, and I'm standing here in a parking lot of a Whole Foods and several other shops, and if you look right down the road here, I'm actually in Terrace. So this right here is a spot in Carmel, but also could be a spot in Westfield. It is a spot that's changed tremendously. It's the border between Carmel and Westfield, and it's something that if you live in Westfield, Carmel, or even outside of that, you can utilize a lot. So we're gonna get into this little border area in this video. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Carmel, Indiana, Westfield, Indiana, or Indianapolis, Indiana, or any of the cities and towns surrounding Indianapolis, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video. And we have people reaching out to us from all over the country with questions about Carmel, Indiana, of course, Westfield, Indiana, but also Noblesville, Indiana, Fishers, Indiana, Avon, Indiana, Plainfield, Indiana, and Indianapolis, Indiana, without a doubt. So if you have questions at all about any of the cities and towns that surround Indy and Indy itself, then reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll certainly have your back when it comes time for you to make your move to the Indy Metro. All right, again, guys, I am really close to the intersection of 146 and US 31, and I'm here on a summer morning kind of early, so there aren't that many people around, but I still kind of have my head on a swivel because there are still some cars that'll be flying in and out. So I want to make sure that I'm not getting hit by anything, but I'm really close to the entrance of Terrace, which is a really big outdoor mall. So all outside, at least the entrance to a lot of the shops and restaurants from the outside. So as a mall, you of course would have all of that on the inside. And you can see the stoplight up here right behind me. That's 146th Street. And as you can see, it's definitely not very crowded. It's pretty early in the morning right now. And during the week, so a lot of people are going to work and a lot of these stores actually aren't even open yet. But it's a perfect time to come down here and explore it a little bit. So a lot of actually really good restaurants here in Terrace, some pretty cool shops as well. There's some empty buildings in here too. So it's one of those places where businesses do tend to come and go some. And then you've got some long-standing ones that have been here a good long time. This intersection of 146th Street and US 31 has changed dramatically. I mean, it is unbelievable how much of a difference you can actually see through here. So I moved to Indianapolis in the 90s and worked in Westfield first. When I came here in the 90s, I was a high school science teacher at Westfield High School, 16 years, and I've been out of there for a little over 10 years now. And this whole area didn't even exist. The land did, but that's really essentially all it was. There was nothing here. And you go east-west on 146th Street, and right now it's one of the biggest commercial areas, certainly in the area, but it's also a really big commercial area if you were to compare it to really anywhere around the whole Indy Metro. So it doesn't matter if you're outside of Carmel, if you're in Greenwood or Plainfield or anywhere in Indianapolis or Greenwood or Brownsburg or any place like that, it is going to be a big commercial center. So most of the things that you're going to find across the country, a lot of really common stores, shops, big ones would like Best Buy or an Office Max, a lot of your really typical restaurants that you're going to find across the country, like a TGI Fridays or something like that, it's going to be found in this area. Looking across the street here at Express, which you can find across the country. There's a Dick's Sporting Goods, there's White House Black Market, clothing store, find Old Navy, and it's all certainly here. None of this was here then. It was mostly fields, cornfields. There were just a few things. You had a Walmart, there was a Target. There's a Target just down the street here. It's not a super Target. It's actually one of the more modest Targets, which is really pretty nice sometimes to walk into one of those instead of just a gargantuan huge store. But you do have the Walmart, got the Target here, and then there was a Marsh supermarket grocery store, which Marsh went out of business years ago, and the big grocery chain here is now Kroger. So you're going to see that all over the place, along with some others too, like Needler's and Whole Foods, Fresh Time, Fresh Market, a lot of other smaller chain grocery stores around, which is pretty cool. So that was almost, and there were a few other little things here, but that was almost it. And since US 31, the really big project to improve that with Keystone Parkway, and the really big project really to improve that, essentially removing all stoplights. So once you get out of Terrace here and you take a right to get to where US 31 is, just to my east, you're not going to hit a stoplight again until you get to Indianapolis. And if you went north, you're not going to hit a stoplight again for a very, very long time. So that doesn't matter if you go down US 31 or Keystone Parkway, you're not going to hit a stoplight until you get to Indianapolis, which is really pretty awesome. It's nice. So the traffic flows a whole heck of a lot easier. But it used to be a stoplight right there at US 31 and 146th Street. And you can still find one there, but that's on the overpass as US 31 goes under all of that. So the traffic just is totally different. There's a lot more traffic than there used to be because Westville's exploded. Back in the 90s, you actually had well under 10,000 people in Westfield. In fact, if you get to about the year 2000, you're talking a little under 10,000, but towards 1990, you're talking around 3,000 people or so. So not very many at all. And since it exploded, because there's 50 or so thousand people there now, obviously the traffic has increased. So the infrastructure has made up for a lot of the people, the influx of people coming in here. But along with the traffic, you need places to go. You need things to do. You need restaurants, you need shops, and that's where this came up. So Clay Terrace, there's also Hamilton Town Center over in Noblesville. That is bigger than this, but it really follows the same model as this. So it's a really cool place. A lot of really good restaurants are over there. Actually, a couple of my favorites and my wife's favorites. Livery is over there. We really like Livery an awful lot. That's over at Hamilton Town Center. Really similar to this. And what's going on over there is similar to what happened here back in the 2000s. Just influx of people, a lot more traffic, needed better infrastructure, and you also needed a spot like this, a commercial hub. So this actually serves a lot of Carmel and a lot of Westfield. If you live over in East Carmel, which goes all the way over to the White River, and the White River is the border between Carmel and Fishers, you are not terribly far from this. Now, if you live over in that area, you've got other options too. You can go into Indianapolis. You can certainly go into Fishers and Noblesville and all that they have to offer as far as restaurants and shops. But you can come over here. You're not terribly far. But if you live more towards 31 in East Carmel, so you're east of US 31, you are in East Carmel for the most part, and you're kind of central in that area, this is definitely very close for you. Basically anywhere in Westfield that you live, this is a very short drive for you. We're talking, almost anywhere, 15 minutes, probably less, to get to this spot. And then of course, if you go west of here and you get into West Carmel, all the way down even to the Shelbourne Road, which is pretty close to the far western border of Carmel, this again is 15 minutes, maybe 20 if you're in the furthest reaches in the west and to the south, and you have to wind your way up into this direction. But still, it's an easy drive to get here. It's not complicated traffic-wise at all, which is certainly a bonus. You don't have to worry too much about that, and all this is convenient, so you can get to it very easy. But you, of course, have Indianapolis. You'd even have Zionsville and along 421 and everything that they've got to offer. So it's interesting because this has exploded so much, and other places have exploded so much, that when I am with a client, let's say, that isn't familiar with this area, they don't know what's around, and we maybe go and see 4 or 5 different homes, and we're driving these routes that are really residential, it's hard to imagine that you're really close to anything like this. But we talk about these things. We talk about where these centralized shopping areas are, where you can find everything commercial. And if you're in Westfield or Carmel, or for the most part, almost any other city or town, you're usually not outside of a 15 or 20 minute drive. And most of the time it's gonna be less than that. It's just that when you're winding through some of these residential areas, it doesn't feel like you're close to something like this. Just because a lot of times the routes that we take, we don't go through these areas because the direction may be not convenient to the next house, or we might want to avoid some heavier traffic in a spot like this, just to reduce the time for our drive. So this spot right here changed so dramatically, and it's continuing to change some too, but serves a lot of people in the Carmel and Westfield areas especially, but also others. So always an option, something like this. And something like this, probably on a little smaller scale, is available in a lot of places a little further from here. So if you have questions about this particular area of Carmel, or across the street, getting into Westfield, across 146th Street, where you do start to get to the southern portions of Westfield and much further north, questions about any of those things, reach out any ways you know how. Until the next one, we'll see you later.